I find the understanding of how our mind works very interesting in pain management. We tend to identify ourselves with pain when we have chronic pain or when we have chronic illness. We tend to identify ourselves and build a story around our pain or our illness. When I understand how my mind works, I do start realizing that my reality is created from passing thought in every moment. And this experience is changing from moment to moment to moment. So in 1 minute I'm happy, in the next minute I'm sad, in the next minute I'm ecstatic, in the next minute I'm depressed, in the next minute I feel suicidal, and I go through the whole spectrum every single day. The other day I went for a walk in the morning and I had a fuzzy head. And I realized, or I thought, oh my God, I'm going to feel like that all day long. And I didn't sleep really well. And I maybe had a glass of wine. And I'm going to be like that all the day. And then I noticed that my experience changed. Because I was playing with a dog, and then there came a dog walker, and I started chatting with that person. And then suddenly I wondered again, how is my head? And I realized that in that moment when I was chatting with that other person and I was playing with a dog, I actually didn't experience any fuzziness in my head. So I realized again that my experience is changing and I'm not that person I was 5 minutes ago. And only because I did sleep bad or I had a glass of wine too much or something, I'm not that person who has a fuzzy head all day long. I experience that when I'm thinking about it. And because that is changing from moment to moment to moment, my experience is changing from moment to moment. I used to have some I used to have some pain when I went running. And I'm not saying there was nothing, but I could only experience the pain when I was thinking about it. Now you can question what is faster, the pain or my thinking about it. But maybe when you start playing with it, you realize you cannot experience pain without thinking about it. So I went for a run and I looked at the countryside and I had other thought passing me, and then I thought again, how is my pain in my knee when I experienced that pain? And I realized really quickly that this pain changed and wasn't there all the time. So for me, it's really interesting that my experience is changing and I can only experience any of my 5 senses via the power of thought. What do I mean with that? Take, for example, you now sitting in that chair. You're sitting in a chair. Now I ask you, do you have your back on the chair or is your back free? How is your bottom sitting in that chair? Is it comfortable where you're sitting? Maybe you're not sitting, but when you're sitting or when you're standing. But when you're sitting, is it comfortable in that chair? And you suddenly start to feel your back, your bottom on the chair you're sitting at. And that is because all your neural endings, they start to put their feelers out in making contact with that chair. But before I brought up the awareness for you to think about how you're sitting, you were not aware that you're sitting in that chair at all. So if it wouldn't be down to thought, you wouldn't be aware of the chair all the time. So you see, you can only have the awareness when you're thinking about it. So I'm asking you now to look out of the window and have a look what you're seeing. So before, you didn't see the tree or whatever you're looking at, you didn't realize it, and you can only take it in via the power of thought. And that's the same way with pain. You can only realize your pain via the power of thought. Or with chronic illness. So yes, I'm not saying there is not something going on. I'm not saying that at all. But I only can be aware of my chronic illness, of my pain, via the power of thought. When you're sitting in the pictures and you're watching a film, you may be laughing, you may be sad, you may be scared, whatever it is in that moment, but you're not aware of your pain. And then you're going out with your friends and you're talking about the film, you're doing something else, and then suddenly you're thinking about your pain, about your illness, whatever it is. My experience is changing from moment to moment to moment. When I, for example, had an upsetting phone call in the morning, I tend to go out in the afternoon, and if people ask me how I'm feeling, I would have said, oh yes, I'm really upset. I had this phone call this morning and it's really terrible and da-di-da. And I would build up this whole story about my morning where I had this upsetting phone call. But today, when I had something which wasn't right for me, say another upsetting phone call, and I go out in the afternoon and somebody is asking me on the street how I'm doing, I actually realize in that moment, I'm talking to that person, I'm absolutely fine. So there I can see that my experience is changing from moment to moment to moment. So I'm not that person with chronic pain. I'm that person who experienced pain in that given moment. And then in the next minute, I experience something else. And in the next moment, I experience something else. When I realize that, then my story breaks away. I am free of the identity being that person in pain, being that person with the chronic illness. I am just who I am in that moment, right now, right here. And for me, when I realized that I don't have pain all day long, that's where it's possible that healing can take place. I hope that's helpful. If you'd like to hear more, you would like to have a free conversation, please get in touch. My website is www.healthylivingwithpaolaroyal.co.uk. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.